The large silver ship appeared in the sky above Seoul on a clear Tuesday morning. It hung there, silent and still, reflecting sunlight like a perfect mirror. People stopped in the streets to look up. Cars halted. Phones came out to take pictures. No one ran or screamed. Humans had been waiting for this moment for too long. Commander Tae stood on the roof of the Defense Ministry building, binoculars raised to his eyes. At 42, he had spent half his life preparing for first contact. Now it was happening on his watch. "Sir, the President is on the line," said Captain Min, holding out a secure phone. Tae took the phone. "Yes, Madam President." "What are we looking at, Commander?" President Jun's voice was calm. "One ship about 500 meters long, no visible weapons, no attempt to hide or use stealth. They want us to see them." "Friendly or hostile?" Tae watched as smaller craft began to emerge from the larger ship. They glowed with soft blue light. "Unknown. But if they wanted to attack, they would have done it already. The Americans and Chinese are tracking the ship too. They're waiting for our lead since the visitors chose our airspace." Pride filled the President's voice. "I'm authorizing you to make first contact, Commander. Don't make me regret it." The line went dead. Tae handed the phone back to Min. "Orders, sir?" asked Min. "Prepare the welcome site. And get Dr. Hana there now." 3 hours later, Tae stood in the middle of Seoul Olympic Stadium. The government had cleared it for the meeting. A simple white table with chairs on both sides sat at the center of the field. Dr. Hana, Korea's top xenobiologist, stood beside him. Her hands shook slightly. "Nervous, Doctor?" asked Tae. "Terrified," she admitted. "Everything I've studied has been theory until now." 5 small blue ships descended into the stadium. They made no sound as they landed in a perfect circle around the table. The light they gave off pulsed gently like a heartbeat. A door opened on the nearest ship. A tall figure stepped out. Tae's breath caught in his throat. The alien was nearly 3 meters tall. Its body was thin and seemed almost transparent, with a soft blue light glowing from within. It had 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head with no visible face, just a brighter concentration of light where features might be. 4 more aliens exited the other ships. They all glowed with the same blue light, though with slightly different patterns. "They're bioluminescent," whispered Dr. Hana. "They produce their own light." The tallest alien approached the table and stopped. Its body pulsed with light in complex patterns. A small device on the table beeped. It was a universal translator, programmed with all Earth languages and ready to learn new ones. After a moment, it spoke in Korean. "We are the Lumina. We come with peace and light." Tae stepped forward. "I am Commander Tae of the United Earth Defense Force. This is Dr. Hana, our science representative. We welcome you to Earth." The alien's light pulsed again. "I am Ambassador Su. We have watched your world for 50 of your years. We find you interesting." "Why have you chosen to reveal yourselves now?" asked Tae. The alien's light dimmed slightly. "Necessity. The galaxy grows darker. We seek allies who understand the importance of light." Dr. Hana spoke up. "Your bodies generate light. Is this natural?" "Yes. Our world orbits 3 suns. We have never known darkness. Light is life." The alien turned its featureless head toward the stadium lights. "You too fight against darkness. You fill your world with artificial light. Even from space, we see your cities glowing at night." Tae and Hana exchanged glances. The alien had misunderstood something basic about humans. "We use light as a tool," Tae explained carefully. "But darkness is natural to us. Our planet rotates, bringing night and day." Ambassador Su's light flickered rapidly, perhaps their version of surprise. "Yet you resist this darkness. You push it back with your technology." Rather than correct the alien, Tae changed the subject. "Would you tell us more about your world?" For the next hour, Ambassador Su described the Lumina homeworld, a planet bathed in constant light from its 3 suns. The Lumina evolved there, developing photosynthesis like Earth plants. They ate nothing, simply absorbing sunlight for energy. Their entire civilization was built around light, And now you travel between stars, said Dr. Hana. Your technology must be very advanced. Necessity drove innovation, said Sue. The great darkness approaches. We had to find ways to preserve light. What is this great darkness? Asked Tay. Thitoi, aliens' glow dimmed to almost nothing. The enemy of all life. It consumes stars. It brings eternal night. We have fought it for 1,000 years. The translator couldn't capture the emotion, but the dimming light of the alien's body made its fear clear. Is Earth in danger? Tay asked. Not yet, but soon. This is why we reveal ourselves now. We offer an alliance. Protection. In exchange for what? Tay's voice was cautious. Knowledge. Resources. Partnership. The alien's light brightened again. We will discuss details later. For now, we offer a gift. One of the other aliens approached, carrying a small crystal sphere. It placed it on the table. The sphere began to glow with warm golden light. An eternal light source, explained Sue. It will never dim or fail. Thank you, said Tay, not reaching for it. We will need to analyze it first, of course. Of course, caution is wise. The alien's light pulsed in what might have been amusement. You fear what you do not understand, as do we. The meeting concluded with plans for more talks. The aliens returned to their ships and rose silently into the sky. As they watched the ships leave, Dr. Hana turned to Tay. They think we're afraid of the dark. Yes, said Tay. And that might be useful. That night, in a secure room deep beneath the Defense Ministry, Tay met with President June and a small group of advisors. Dr. Hana presented her analysis of the alien sphere. It's a power source unlike anything we've seen. It generates light and heat without any apparent fuel. Is it dangerous? Asked the president. Not radioactive or toxic, said Hana, but it's also transmitting data. Very weak signals, but constant. I think it's watching us. Tay nodded. They're studying how we use light. President June leaned forward. What are your impressions, Commander? They're advanced, peaceful so far, but hiding something. This great darkness they mentioned, it could be real or it could be an excuse. What would they need an excuse for? Asked the defense minister. Invasion, said Tay simply. They claim to offer protection, but they might really want our resources. You're being paranoid, said the economic minister. Think of what we could learn from them. We should be careful, said Dr. Hana. They fundamentally misunderstand humans. They evolved in constant light and seem terrified of darkness. They assume we share this fear because we use artificial light. And what if their fear is justified? Asked President June. What if this great darkness is real? The room fell silent. Then we prepare, said Tay, but we keep our greatest strength secret. Which is? Asked the president. Tay looked around the dimly lit room at the faces partially hidden in shadow. That unlike them, we don't fear the dark. We've mastered it. Outside the window, the Lumina mothership glowed like a new moon in the night sky. Watching. Waiting. Misunderstanding the species that had evolved in the rhythm of day and night. Light and shadow. The humans let them believe their mistake. For now. 6 months passed since the Lumina first arrived on Earth. Their ships now hovered over major cities around the world. The aliens shared some of their technology, new types of clean energy, medicines that cured several diseases, and better, ways to grow food. Many humans welcomed them as saviors. But Commander Tay did not trust them. Every night, he would stand on his apartment balcony and look up at their mothership. It always glowed with bright blue light, never turning off, never dimming. The Lumina claimed they needed constant light to survive. Tay wondered what else they weren't telling humans. You're going to be late, said a voice behind him. Tay turned to see Dr. Hana at the doorway. They had been working closely since first contact and had become friends. Some said more than friends, but Tay kept his feelings private. The United Nations meeting isn't for 2 hours, he said. Yes, but I found something you need to see first. Hana's face was serious. Something about the Lumina's gift. They drove to her lab in silence. The streets of Seoul were crowded with tourists who had come to see the aliens. Stores sold toys that glowed like the Lumina. Children wore shirts with pictures of the light beings. The whole world seemed caught in a bright blue dream. At the ISO lab, Hana led Tai to a sealed room. Inside was the crystal sphere the Lumina had given them 6 months ago. "Watch this," she said. She pressed a button and the lights in the room went out. The sphere glowed brighter, as expected. But then Tai noticed something strange. Small beams of light shot out from the sphere in all directions, mapping the room. "It's scanning," he said. "Yes, and not just this room." Hana turned the lights back on and showed him a computer screen. "It's been sending data back to the mothership about our power systems, our military bases, our government buildings." Tai's face darkened. "They're planning something. There's more." Hana pulled up another screen showing a map of the world. Red dots covered it. "These are all the gift spheres they've given to different countries. Together they form a network. They could be used to coordinate an attack," Tai finished. Hana nodded. "We need to tell the president before the UN meeting." But they were too late. When Tai and Hana arrived at the United Nations building in New York, something was wrong. The Lumina mothership had moved directly overhead, casting a shadow over the city for the first time. Smaller ships hovered around the building. Inside, world leaders sat nervously as Ambassador Su stood at the center of the room. The aliens' light pulsed stronger than ever, almost painful to look at. "What's happening?" Tai asked an American general as they took seats in the back. "They called this emergency meeting. Said they have an important announcement." President June spotted Tai and Hana entering. She gave them a small nod. She looked worried. Ambassador Su began to speak, the translator converting the light pulses into words. "Friends of Earth, we have watched your progress for 6 months. You have welcomed our gifts. You have shared your culture. Now, we must share the full truth." The room grew quiet. "The great darkness approaches faster than we predicted. Your solar system lies directly in its path." A hologram appeared above the alien, showing stars and planets. A dark shadow moved across them, swallowing their light. "This is the enemy," said Su. "The void entities. They consume light and energy. They bring endless night to all worlds. They touch." The hologram showed the shadow approaching Earth. "Without our help, your world will fall to darkness within 1 year. All life will end. The void entities cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be stopped by your weapons." Whispers filled the room. Fear showed on many faces. "However, we can save you," continued Su. "The Lumina have fought this enemy for generations. We have developed technologies that can push back the darkness." The hologram changed, showing massive towers all over Earth's surface. Each tower shot beams of light into space, forming a shield around the planet. "These are light generators. They create a barrier the void entities cannot cross. We will build them on your world." "And what do you need from us?" asked the Secretary General. Su's light dimmed slightly. "Space, resources, labor. The generators must be placed at specific points around your planet. Some of your cities will need to be relocated." Shouts erupted from the world leaders. Tai looked at Hana, who was studying the hologram with narrowed eyes. "How many cities?" demanded the Chinese president. 12 major population centers must be cleared. We will help. Move your people to safe zones." "That's hundreds of millions of people," said President June, standing up. "Where would they go?" "We have calculated areas that will be minimally affected by the generators. Your people will be safe there." "And if we refuse?" asked the Russian leader. The alien's light pulsed rapidly. "Then you face the darkness alone. We analyzed your species, your literature, your architecture, your nightlights and street lamps. You fear darkness as we do. You cannot survive without our protection." Tai leaned close to Hana. "Do you believe this void entity threat is real?" She shook her head slightly. "I've been monitoring deep space. There's no evidence of anything approaching our system. And look at the hologram. The physics don't make sense. Ambassador Sue continued. We require your answer within 7 Earth days. If you agree, we will begin construction immediately. If you refuse, the alien's light flickered like a dying flame. We will be forced to leave you to your fate. The meeting ended in chaos, with arguments breaking out among the world leaders. Some wanted to accept the Lumina's help immediately. Others demanded proof of the threat. Later that night, in a secure room beneath the UN building, the Security Council met an emergency session. Tai and Hana were asked to present their findings. The gift spheres are surveillance devices, Tai explained, showing the data Hana had collected. They've been mapping our defenses, our power grids, everything. That doesn't mean they're hostile, said the French representative. They might need this information to protect us. Then why hide it? Countered Tai. Why pretend the spheres were just lights? Hana displayed her own findings. I've analyzed their hologram of the so-called void entities. It's not scientifically possible, it's propaganda. What are you suggesting? Asked President June. The Lumina are lying, said Tai. There is no approaching darkness, no void entities. They want our planet for themselves. But why? Asked the Secretary General. What does Earth have that they need? Hana answered quietly. Resources. Living space. Maybe they're running from something real, just not what they described. Or maybe, said Tai, they simply want to spread their light to all corners of the galaxy. Think about it. They evolved in constant brightness. They feared darkness above all else. What better mission than to illuminate every world they find? Or? Room fell silent as the implications sank in. If we're right, continued Tai, then agreeing to their terms means surrender. They'll take our cities, control our movements, and eventually transform Earth to suit their needs, a planet of constant light. And if you're wrong? Asked the American president. If the threat is real and we refuse their help? Tai straightened, his back. Then humanity will face it our own way. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and our own nuclear weapons. We adapt. It's what humans do best. President June looked around the room. We need time to verify their claims and prepare for either possibility. She turned to Tai and Hana. I'm authorizing you to form a special task force. Codename, Nightfall. Investigate the Lumina thoroughly and develop contingency plans. What do we tell the Lumina? Asked the British Prime Minister. We tell them we're considering their offer, said President June. We tell them we need more information. We play for time. As the meeting ended, Tai and Hana walked out into the night. Above them, the Lumina mothership glowed like a second moon. Do you think we can fight them if we have to? Asked Hana. Their technology is so advanced. Tai looked up at the bright ship, then around at the dark shadows between the buildings. They have one weakness, he said quietly, and it's all around us. The old bunker under Pyongyang had been built during colder times, when North and South Korea watched each other with suspicion. Now, as a unified Korea, the bunker served a new purpose. 100 meters below the ground, safe from alien eyes, Nightfall team gathered. Commander Tai stood before a map of the world. Red dots showed where the Lumina had begun building their light generators. The aliens had been pleased when Earth's leaders asked for more time. They saw it as a sign of cooperation, not suspicion. The public story is that we're preparing for the void entities, said Tai to the 20 people in the room. The real story is that we're preparing to resist an invasion. Dr. Hana stepped forward. For the past month, I've studied Lumina biology. We captured tissue samples from their ships. She showed images on a screen. Their cells work like plants, turning light into energy. But there's more. Their nervous system, their communication, even their technology all depend on light. So, darkness is their weakness, said President June, who had come in secret to see their progress. Not just a weakness, said Hana. To them, darkness is like drowning is to us. Without light, they can't move, can't think clearly, can't communicate. A man raised his hand. He wore dark glasses and had a white cane beside his chair. This was Jun, once Korea's top special forces soldier before losing his sight in battle. If they feared darkness so much, why come to a planet that has night? He asked. Good question, said Tae. Hana, show them what you found. Hana displayed images of Earth taken from space. The night side of the planet glowed with city lights. From space, human civilization looks like stars in the darkness. We push back the night with electricity. The Lumina think this means we share their fear. They don't understand that we choose to use light, added Tae. That we're comfortable, in both light and dark. A young woman with short hair and oil-stained hands stood up. This was Engineer Day, who had been studying Lumina technology. Their ships and generators all work on the same principle, she said. They collect and amplify light, but there's a specific frequency they use for everything, from power to communication. She showed a chart with a blue peak. If we could disrupt this frequency, we could shut them down, finished Tae. Exactly, said Day with a small smile. An electromagnetic pulse tuned to this frequency would disable their technology without permanently damaging ours. How long would it last? Asked President Jun. About 30 minutes, said Day. Maybe an hour if we use full power. Is that enough time? The president looked worried. It has to be, said Tae. Jun, tell them your findings. Jun stood, not needing his cane, in the familiar room. I've been working with people who were allowed inside Lumina ships, people like me. Blind people, said Hana, explaining to the others. Yes, the Lumina think we're damaged. They let us closer than others because they don't see us as a threat. Jun smiled. They don't realize that we navigate darkness better than anyone. He pointed to a model of a Lumina ship. Their vessels have emergency systems. If main power fails, backup lights should activate. But these systems have a design flaw. They can be overridden from 3 control points inside each ship. And you've located these points? Asked Tae. On their smaller ships, yes. We're still working on the mothership. Tae nodded and turned to a quiet man in the corner. Kwan, what about their communications? Intelligence Officer Kwan stood up. He had spent months studying how the Lumina exchanged information. They use light pulses to communicate, he said. Different colors, patterns, and intensities carry different meanings. I've been able to decode some basic commands. He showed a tablet with recorded light sequences, including emergency shutdown codes. A murmur ran through the room. This was better than they had hoped. So we have a plan, said Tae. We create a global EMP tuned to their technology. We use blind operators to disable their emergency systems, and we send false messages to confuse them. There's one more thing, said Dr. Hana. I believe there are no void entities. The room went silent. What? Asked President Jun. I've examined all the data they've shared about this supposed threat. It's inconsistent. The physics don't work, and our deep space monitors show nothing approaching. Hana took a deep breath. The Lumina are lying. I think they're simply expanding their empire planet by planet, spreading light wherever they go. Are you certain? Asked the president. As certain as I can be without direct proof. Tae stepped forward. If Hana is right, then we aren't facing some mysterious cosmic enemy. We're facing colonizers who want our world, and they're using our perceived fear of darkness against us. President Jun was quiet for a long moment. How many people know about this plan? Just this team and a few trusted allies around the world, said Tae. We need to keep it small. The Lumina are watching us closely. And what about the generators they're building? Asked the president. Engineer Day answered. They're not shields against any void entities. They're terraforming devices. They're changing Earth's atmosphere to let in more light, making our planet more like their homeworld. Faces around the room showed shock and anger. Then we have no choice, said President Jun. How soon can you be ready? 3 weeks, said Tae. We need to coordinate with our allies in other countries. The EMP must be global. If even one generator remains active, they can use it to restore their network. What do we call this operation? Asked Jun. Tae looked around the room, at the people who would save Earth from the Lightbringers. Moonless night, he said. Because, when we strike, there will be no light to guide them. Only darkness. For the next 3 weeks, the Nightfall team worked in secret. Around the world, small groups prepared for the day when humanity would take back their planet. Engineer Day built EMP devices and hid them near Lumina generators. Jun trained blind operators to move through Lumina ships and disable emergency systems. Quan recorded light messages that would send false commands to the aliens. Dr. Hana made an important discovery. The Lumina aren't just afraid of darkness, she told Tai one night as they worked late. They hate it. Their holy texts describe darkness as evil. Their entire culture is built around fighting shadows. So this isn't just about resources, said Tae. No, it's a crusade. They believe they're saving us from darkness, even if they have, to take our planet to do it. Meanwhile, the Lumina continued building their generators. They had completed 3, with 9 more under construction. They had started moving people away from major cities, promising new homes in safe zones. Some humans resisted and were taken away. Others worshipped the aliens as saviors. Most just did as they were told, believing the story about the void entities. 5 days before Operation Moonless Night was to begin, Tae received alarming news. The Lumina had accelerated their plans. They were bringing more ships to Earth. Their generators were affecting weather patterns, making skies clearer and days brighter. We have to move sooner, Tae told the team. They're changing our planet too quickly. The EMP network isn't fully in place, warned Day. Jun's team isn't ready either, said Hana. We don't have a choice, said Tae. If we wait, it might be too late. After an emergency meeting with President Jun and leaders from other countries, the decision was made. Operation Moonless Night would begin in 48 hours. As Tae left the bunker that night, he looked up at the sky. The Lumina mothership glowed brighter than ever. Around it, hundreds of smaller ships moved like fireflies. They thought they were bringing light to a world that feared darkness. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The day before Operation Moonless Night, Commander Tae could not sleep. He stood at the window of his apartment, watching the Lumina ships glow against the night sky. Soon, either humanity would take back their planet, or they would become servants to beings of light. His phone rang. It was Dr. Hana. Turn on your TV, she said, her voice tight with worry. Tae did as she asked. Every channel showed the same image. Ambassador Su standing in front of the United Nations. People of Earth, said the alien, its light pulsing strongly. Our sensors have detected the void entities approaching faster than expected. We must move quickly. Starting tomorrow, all humans must relocate to the safe zones we have prepared. This is not a request, this is for your survival. Tae felt cold fear in his stomach. They know, he said to Hana. They've discovered our plan. Maybe not, she answered. Maybe they really are in a hurry to take over. Either way, we need to act now. Tae made a quick call to President Jun, who agreed. Operation Moonless Night would begin immediately, not in 24 hours as planned. I'll meet you at the control center, he told Hana. Call the others. As he drove through the city, Tae saw people packing their belongings, preparing to move to the Lumina's safe zones. Some looked afraid. Others seemed angry. But most just looked lost, not knowing what to believe anymore. At the control center, a hardened bunker beneath Seoul's old subway system, the Nightfall team gathered. Engineer Day reported that 80% of the EMP devices were in place around the world. Jun's blind operators were ready to enter the Lumina ships. Officer Quan had prepared the false light messages. What about the mothership? Asked Tai. Jun shook his head. We couldn't get anyone inside. It's too heavily guarded. Then we focus on the smaller ships and the generators, said Tae. If we disable enough of them, the mothership will be on its own. President Jun arrived looking tired but determined. The other world leaders are ready, she said. China, America, Europe, Africa. They've all activated their parts of the plan. It's time. Tae looked at the clock. It was 2:30 a.m. in Korea. On the other side of the world, it was daytime, but they had chosen this time because more Lumina ships were in Earth's night side, trying to keep cities lit. Send the go signal, he ordered. Officer Kwan pressed a button, sending an encrypted message to teams around the world. On screens around the room, they watched as lights began to blink, confirmation signals from their allies. All teams are ready, said Kwan. Tae took a deep breath. Begin Phase 1. Phase 1 started with Jun's team. Around the world, blind operators, who had been posing as servants on Lumina ships, moved to their positions. They had memorized the layouts of the alien vessels and knew exactly where to go. On a ship hovering over New York, a blind woman named Lisa found the primary control panel. Using her fingers to feel the alien symbols Jun had taught her, she entered the shutdown code. In Paris, a blind man named Thomas did the same on another ship. In Beijing, Cairo, Rio de Janeiro, and a dozen other cities, blind operators worked, in perfect darkness, sabotaging the Lumina ships from within. 30% of target ships compromised, reported Jun, listening to updates through his earpiece. That's not enough, said Tae. Begin Phase 2. Phase 2 was engineered Dae's part of the plan. She activated the EMP devices placed near Lumina, generators around the world. Sending activation codes now, she said, fingers flying over her keyboard. On the screens, they watched as blue dots representing Lumina technology began to turn red, indicating they were offline. Generator in Sydney is down, announced Dae. London down, Mexico City down. One by one, the Lumina's light generators shut down. With each one, the aliens lost a piece of their network. But not all the EMPs worked. Some had been discovered by the Lumina. Others had technical failures. 60% of generators disabled, reported Dae after 5 minutes. It's not enough for a complete blackout. Tae nodded grimly. Begin Phase 3. Phase 3 was the riskiest part of the plan. Officer Kwan would send false light messages to confuse the Lumina, making them think their own leaders were issuing shutdown orders. Broadcasting now, said Kwan. On screens showing views from outside, they could see Lumina ships beginning to pulse with strange patterns of light. Kwan's false messages spreading through their network. Some ships started to power down, their crews believing they had received official orders. Others remained active, creating confusion in the Lumina ranks. It's working, said Hana, but the mothership is starting to react. Indeed, the massive ship above Seoul was pulsing with angry red light, trying to override the false commands and restore order. We need the final EMP, said Tae. The big one. Engineer Dae looked nervous. The global EMP isn't fully tested. It might affect our systems too. We don't have a choice, said President Jun. If we don't stop them now, we never will. He nodded. Activate the global EMP. Dae's hands shook slightly as she typed in the activation code for their last resort. A massive electromagnetic pulse designed to affect the entire planet at once, specifically targeting the Lumina's light frequency. Global EMP activating in 3, 2, 1. At precisely 3 a.m. Korean Standard Time, the world went dark. The EMP spread across the globe like a silent wave, touching every continent, every ocean. Wherever it passed, Lumina technology failed. Their ship's lights flickered and died. Their generators went silent. Their communication network collapsed. For the first time in months, Earth experienced true darkness. In the control bunker, backup generators kept minimal systems running. The team watched their screens, holding their breath. Did it work? Asked President Jun. Hana checked her instruments. The Lumina ships are powering down. All generators are offline. Their network is broken. And the mothership? Asked Tae. If answering his question, the bunker shook with a distant rumble. On one working camera outside, they could see the mothership's lights flickering wildly. They're panicking, said Jun, smiling slightly. Imagine being surrounded by your worst fear with no way to escape. The EMP will only last about 30 minutes, warned Dae. We need to move fast if we're going to board their ships. Tay stood up. Special forces teams are moving into position worldwide. They'll secure as many ships as possible before the lights come back on. What about the mothership? Asked Hana. That's my job, said Tay, checking his weapon. Jun, you're with me. The blind soldier grinned and picked up his cane. I thought you'd never ask. Outside, the world was darker than it had been in months. The Lumina had kept cities constantly lit, but now every artificial light was out. Only stars shone in the clear night sky. Tay led a team of 20 soldiers toward the fallen mothership. It had dropped to just 100 meters above the ground when the EMP hit, unable to maintain its position. Remember, Tay told his team as they approached, the Lumina aren't physically strong. Without their technology, they're vulnerable. But don't underestimate them. They're desperate, and that makes them dangerous. Jun walked confidently in the darkness, leading the way. The ship's main entrance should be directly ahead, he said. I can feel the air current from its ventilation system. As they reached the mothership, they found its entrance open, a ramp extending to the ground. Inside, all was dark. For the Lumina, this was a nightmare. For humans, it was just night. Night vision on, ordered Tay, and his team activated their goggles. The Lumina would see only blackness, but the humans could see everything in shades of green. They entered the silent ship, ready to take back their world from those who had thought humans feared the dark. Inside the Lumina mothership, Commander Tay and his team moved through dark corridors. Their night vision goggles showed a strange world. The walls seemed to be made of a clear material that normally glowed with light. Now they were dark and lifeless. Jun moved confidently, his cane tapping lightly on the floor. This way to the control center, he said. Being blind had made him the perfect person for this mission. He had memorized the ship's layout from the reports of other blind operatives who had been inside. As they turned a corner, they found their first Lumina. The alien was pressed against a wall, its body barely glowing with a weak blue light. It trembled violently. They're in shock, whispered Dr. Hana, who had insisted on joining the mission. Without light, their bodies can't produce energy. It's like starvation and suffocation combined for them. Tay felt a moment of pity for the creature. The Lumina were not evil in the human sense. They simply could not understand a life that embraced darkness. Can you understand me? Tay asked the alien. The Lumina's body flickered weakly, but no translation came. Their translation devices had failed with everything else. We need to find Ambassador Su, said Tay. Jun, lead on. They continued deeper into the ship. They passed more Lumina, all in the same helpless state. Some tried to flee when they saw the humans. Others stayed frozen in place. Engineer Day says we have about 10 minutes before their emergency systems might restart, reported an officer, checking his radio. Then we hurry, said Tay. At last, they reached a large, circular room at the center of the ship. Jun stopped at the entrance. This is it, he said. The command center should be through these doors. Tay signaled his team to ready their weapons. They weren't lethal. President June had been clear that they wanted to capture, not kill. The guns would fire darts with a sedative that Dr. Hana had designed specifically for Lumina biology. On my mark, said Tay. 3, 2, 1. They burst into the command center. Inside, about 20 Lumina huddled together. Their combined light was stronger than the isolated aliens in the corridors, but still weak. In the center stood a taller figure, Ambassador Su. Stop right there, ordered Tay. It's over. The Lumina did not respond. Without their translators, they couldn't understand human speech, but they could see the weapons pointed at them. Ambassador, Su stepped forward, its light pulsing in what seemed like anger or fear. Dr. Hana activated a small device she had brought. It projected light in patterns, a basic version of Lumina light language that Officer Kwan had taught her. The message was simple: surrender, or we will keep you in darkness. The threat was clear to the light-dependent aliens. Ambassador Su's glow dimmed, then brightened slightly, their version of a nod. They surrender, said Hana. Just then, Their radios crackled. "Commander, this is Engineer Day. The EMP effect is starting to wear off. Some Lumina systems are rebooting." As if on cue, small emergency lights began to activate around the command center. The Lumina visibly relaxed as the light touched them, their bodies absorbing it eagerly. "We need to secure the ship's controls now," said Tay. Before they regain full power, Jun stepped forward. "The main control panel should be there." He pointed to a large console in the center of the room. "If we can input the shutdown codes Quan discovered, we can keep their main systems offline, even after the EMP ends." Tai nodded. "Do it." As Jun worked, guided by Hana's voice, Tai's radio came alive with reports from around the world. Human forces had successfully boarded and captured most of the Lumina ships. The light generators had been secured. The operation was succeeding beyond their hopes. "Code input complete," reported Jun. "Main power locked out." The emergency lights remained on, but the Lumina wouldn't be able to restart their weapons or engines without the access codes that Jun had just changed. Ambassador Su watched with what seemed like sadness as humans took control of their ship. 3 days later, Commander Tay stood in the United Nations Hall. Representatives from every nation had gathered to hear the terms of the Lumina surrender. Ambassador Su stood on the stage, its light now steady, but subdued. President Jun spoke first. "People of Earth, the threat has passed. The Lumina have agreed to our terms and will be leaving our planet." The hall erupted in cheers. When the noise died down, President Jun continued. "Before they leave, Ambassador Su has asked to address us one last time." The alien stepped forward. Its translator had been returned, allowing it to speak. "People of Earth," began Su, "we came to your world believing we were saviors. We thought you feared darkness as we do. We believed our light was a gift you needed." The alien paused, its glow dimming slightly. "We were wrong. You showed us something we had never seen before. Creatures who can live in both light and darkness, who can see in the dark, who find beauty in night as well as day." Tay listened carefully. Was this genuine understanding, or just the words of the defeated? "There was no great darkness coming to your world," admitted Su. "That was a story we tell ourselves to justify our expansion. We bring light to all worlds we find because we cannot imagine life without it." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Dr. Hana had been right all along. "As part of our surrender, we will share our technology with you, not as a way to change your world, but as a tool you may use as you wish. We ask only that you allow us to leave in peace." President Jun stepped forward again. "The terms have been agreed upon. The Lumina will depart within 7 days. Their remaining ships will take them back to their home system. They will never return to Earth without invitation." The meeting continued with details of the agreement, but Tay's mind was elsewhere. He thought about how close they had come to losing their world, not through violence, but through misunderstanding. 1 week later, Tay stood with Dr. Hana on the roof of the Defense Ministry building. Above them, the Lumina mothership was rising into the dawn sky. Its light was no longer threatening, but simply another brightness among many. "Do you think they learned anything?" asked Hana. "About living with darkness?" "Maybe," said Tai. "They seemed genuinely shocked that we could function without constant light, that we could use darkness as a tool. What about us? Did we learn anything from them?" Tay thought for a moment. "We learned that different beings can have different fears. What's normal for us might be terrifying for others." The mothership grew smaller as it ascended, becoming just a bright dot among the morning stars. "The President wants me to lead Earth's first deep space mission," said Tay. "Using the Lumina drive technology they shared, we could reach other stars within a few years." "And what will we find there?" asked Hana. "More beings of light? Or creatures of darkness?" "Maybe both." "The galaxy seems full of extremes," Tay smiled. "But we're creatures of twilight. We understand both light and shadow. That might be humanity's greatest strength." As the Lumina ship disappeared from view, the sun rose fully over the horizon. Earth returned to its natural rhythm. The endless, cycle of day and night that had shaped human evolution for millions of years. In the months that followed, humanity began the work of rebuilding and advancing. The Lumina technology, properly adapted for human needs, allowed for clean energy and faster space travel. The light generators were dismantled, but some of their components were repurposed for human use. Earth's reputation spread through nearby star systems. Humans became known as the Twilight People, beings who could thrive in both brightness and darkness. Other species, learning of how Earth had defeated the Lightbringers, approached with caution and respect. 5 years later, Commander Tay, now Admiral Tay, stood on the bridge of Earth's first interstellar ship. Dr. Hannah, now his wife, stood beside him as Chief Science Officer. Before them stretched the vast darkness of space, dotted with the light of countless stars. "Ready to depart, Admiral," reported the pilot. Tay looked at the darkness ahead, then at the light of Earth behind them. Both were part of the human experience. Both were necessary for life. "Set course for the Alpha Centauri system," he ordered. "And remember our mission. We go as explorers, not conquerors. We bring neither forced light nor darkness, but understanding." The ship's engines hummed to life and humanity took its kyo, first true step into the galaxy, masters of both light and shadow, afraid of neither.